I've got to go on there. It'll pick up whatever. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, when the W-43 program was canceled, these were hard times now because of the oil embargo, because we got to work on low compression, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why everything changed right away to we got to do 8-to-1, 8.5-to-1 compression, okay, for the unleaded fuel, which was part and parcel to that whole oil embargo thing. So anyhow, what came of that, there was 18 of us hired and going to lay us all off, okay? And it was interesting because this is where the W-43 kind of really played into the story, is after that program was canceled, I was doing some other testing in the lab someplace, but I was drawing cams. Didn't have a clue, right? But I did know, okay, that, first derivative is acceleration, second derivative is jerk, okay? And when we design these cams, we got to take a look at the lobe itself.
Thank you.
At the lobe itself. And anyhow, somewhere along the line, one of the guys, they must have walked by my desk or whatever, and said, Koerner's are drawing cams, right? And, not that it was a big deal to him, and not that I was going to come up with any magic, but, I worked on this thing, and I'm thinking, maybe there's something here and that. Because my thought was I'll go with Jim Bueller and we'll take a look at his cams and figure out how to go and figure slopes and that and get, acceleration and jerk. So anyhow, what that turned into being is Jim Dawson said, you want to go back to school. Everybody's getting laid off, right? And I said, well, Jim, I just can't go back to school. To go back to school, I got no money. I'm out. Okay, I got to work. Okay. He says, no, we'll have you work full time. And I said, well, are we talking GMI? Because I'm thinking 6 weeks on, 6 weeks off. I can live on that, right? And he said, no, how about MSU? Because they're right here.
Yep.
And so anyhow, that turned into, I brought my books from Alfred, is where I went to school. They took it to the people out there, saw how much would transfer or not. And so off I went. And I was going to school, I don't know how I did it, full time on days. And then I worked either afternoons or midnights in the lab at Oldsmobile. And the good thing about that is they gave me jobs where I could do some homework and that while I was at work. Record a whole bunch of data every half an hour on some axle test or whatever, So that's how I made it through, and graduated in '73, okay? And so it took me another 2.5 years, and but had a mechanical engineering degree at that point, and that was it. Now I'm an engineer and got my normal assignments and all that. So with all of that, now I got a little bit of money. Well, I love racing. So anyhow, that's how I got into that deal, right? And actually I did, with some friends from engineering, some dirt track oval stuff, okay? We bought a car from a guy who raced locally in Lansing. You gotta remember, this is 1973 right now. These are not the most sophisticated cars you've ever seen, right? But he ran Chevy, so anyhow, I bought, his name was Jim Aldrich. Buy the car from him, and we put an Oldsmobile engine in it, Oldsmobile body on it, gonna go dirt track racing. So the first race is out at Ionia Free Fair out here. It's at the fairgrounds. Oh yeah, there we are. I'll never forget as long as I live. It rained like a son of a gun the night before. So they got land graders out there and that, and they're, grooming the track, and they're pushing mud to the bottom, and they're pushing mud to the top. The track has got concrete wall all the way around with steel up above, on the back straightaway and all that. So anyhow, then we go racing, right? First time, period. Okay. I'm in there and it got down to, I must have been running about 8th or 9th, something like that. And, it was, there I was doing laps, right? And kind of racing. And so there's about 2 to go, maybe 3 to go. I go to pass the guy on the outside, and he takes me up to the wall on the back straightaway. Well, the mud was a perfect ramp. So up I go,
Oh my goodness.
knocking down all the sheet metal stuff. I mean, for as long as you could see, right? I'm going through those things.
Jeez.
And then the car comes to a stop. Okay, I can't get out because I'm next to some of the sheet metal wall and all that other stuff, but I'm not hurt. It's the first time we had a picture of my car in the paper because it stopped. Some spectator had a van parked on the other side of the wall, and my car stopped in his windshield.
Jeez.
Oh yeah, it was like, okay, welcome to Circle Track.
Whoa.
So, oh yeah. So of course the car's really tore up. We dragged the thing home. By this time, we now all think, we're drinking quite a bit of beer, thinking we can build a better car than that one.
Yeah.
So we'll go and build one, right? So next thing that happens is we're going up to Crystal on the dirt.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And I say we probably raced about 5 times. We're in the middle of the pack. Just had a 350 Olds in it that I built, and it ran good. And anyhow, the crew can't make it. This one Saturday night, Barb's up north. She comes from East Jordan, up north. My wife. We're not married at the time, right? But yeah, we're together. Let's put it that way. And so anyhow, somewhere along the line, drifting around the turn, and hit the end of the pit wall, right behind the rear tire.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
oh yeah, the only miracle was that it wasn't a fire. Okay, but I mean the car, it's just basically gone from behind the rear axle, right?
Yeah.
So a bunch of people there, they helped me get it on the trailer, and I haul it back to the house we're renting and that sort of thing. And I'll never forget, on Sunday when she comes back, she saw the car in the garage, and then she saw me laying on the living room floor, okay, in absolute pain, right? And I could tell by the look in her eye that, you sure you really want to do this? She never ever said it, right? But I also realized she was looking at me like, I don't want you to be damaged goods, okay, if we're going to get married here,
Yeah.
So that was the end of circle track racing. So then we figured, well, drag cars sounds like a good thing. They can be nice and clean and all that, and we shouldn't be crashing them.
Yep.
So what the hell, and I like doing engines. So we had Wayne Farr built us a rear engine dragster to run C Econo Dragster. And he was building Dick LaHaye's top fuel cars. This is top-notch stuff now. I mean, and it's stuff, I always looked at whoever's building my cars, you got to say, you know what, are you willing to sit in what he built you, right? I mean, that's a very important thing. And so anyhow, it was a good car. We didn't do much of anything. But, we're going up. Running at the time, they were brackets or this, that, and the other thing, trying to get fast enough to run in NHRA stuff and what have you. And we were close, but nothing great with an Olds motor in it. So then the breakthrough moment came. Oldsmobile sanctioned a guy, C.J. Batten, down in Romulus. You might have heard this from Porterfield, because he did one of the Aerotech motors also. And anyhow, they sanctioned C.J. to do a traditional Oldsmobile cylinder head, okay, for like 350s net, bolt-on normal, 2-valve deal. And because once again, they wanted to go NASCAR racing. And what it amounted to is, in that time frame, a lot of guys were running the Oldsmobile body with Chevy engines in them in NASCAR, because you could run GM engine, okay, in any body. But the Oldsmobiles had a Cutlass that had kind of a fastback roof with a real nice nose on it. And they're all running that, okay? And so Oldsmobile, it ought to be an Oldsmobile engine, right? So he does this cylinder head, and I cannot overemphasize how good it was. And I mean, really good. And a traditional Olds, the exhaust ports weren't nice, and these were real nice big intake ports. He made them in iron and aluminum. So I go and build a 362-inch, which is basically a 350 60 over, and for the Batten heads. And it's got a different chamber, nice small chamber in that, and we're going to go drag racing. And that's what the car at the end is. We ran an A street roadster, and it was literally as fast. When you're running competition eliminator, there's a number of different body styles, but what it amounts to is every body style has a record or an index, what they call it, okay? and then it's pounds per cubic inch. The car's got to weigh so much for as big as the motor is, okay? And so anyhow, by this time, the engines, I mean, they're good. My 362, I'll never forget, because we ran it down at Maskins. He owned Dart later, and it made 686 horsepower. And we turned it 9,800 RPM.
Wow.
And what I had done here is I used a 330 forged crank in it, in 350 block, and then we turned the rod journals down so I could run Chevy rods. You had to make it a little bit wider, and an Olds was 2 125 journal size, and we ran 2 100 Chevy size so I could run aluminum rods, aftermarket rods, because you're changing the rods regularly in these things. And the things had custom pistons made, doing my own domes and that on the machine. And the thing was typically about 15-to-1 compression ratio. 1 4-barrel, 1 750 carburetor was rules, titanium valves, roller cams, big roller cams, and like I said, made 686. So anyhow, Wayne builds the car.
That was at Wayne Park?
Yep, I sold the dragster. He builds the street roadster to the class, okay? It's all chrome moly, and it's light. And so anyhow, we're going up the stand, we're doing some testing, this, that, and the other thing before I have it painted and all that other stuff. And I mean, we're really creeping up on it. The car's getting good and that sort of thing. So the next thing that happens is to go to a national event in NHRA, you got to run so many points races. Those are at more local tracks. Yep. And we're doing all our testing up at Stanton at the time. And so they have a points race. So we go to the points race for that right there. And by the way, the guy who owned the record in a street roadster had a big block Chevy. And the record was like 891. Okay, something like that. It was pretty quick because these things are short and they're light and all that. And so anyhow, I got this 362-inch motor in the car, and we're very light. I mean, the car weighed like 1920, okay, with me in it. And anyhow, I'll never forget, first qualifying pass for all the competition eliminator cars at the points race. And it's a 32 qualified field. There's probably about 60 of them there. And by the way, it also ran an automatic transmission. It ran a power glide with a trans brake, okay?
Oh.
So on the starting line, these transmissions we ran, you hold the button, it's in first and reverse at the same time. So now it's locked up. Got these little tiny converters, got a whole stack of them over there yet, okay? That literally, when you flat foot the motor, the things would go and flash at about 8,300 RPM, standing still, right? And so what the deal is you go up, you stage the car up, hold the button, okay, and flat foot it. When you let go of the button, it dumps reverse oil and like a shot. I mean, you just can't believe how hard it hits, okay? And so anyhow, that's what we're doing. And by this time, we're getting some really good transmissions from A1 out on the West Coast. And then Cohen gave us some stuff. And so anyhow, and we got those torque converters. If I show you one in a box, it isn't this big. I mean, they're little tiny guys, you know, to stall at that level, right? So anyhow, we're making the first qualifying pass, and it's qualifying was usually 10, 1, and 3, okay? And so I go up there like everybody else. You got to qualify yourself into a 32-car field. And I'll never forget, I staged the car up and did my burnout and all that stuff. And let go of the button, and I thought to myself, God, car moved hard, right? I put it in high gear, and I'm thinking to myself, it's marching hard right now, right? And go through, the thing runs an 862.
Oh, shit. That's 3/10 below the record?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. You nailed it. You nailed it, right? And so at this point, I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. I thought we could have probably ran a 90, okay, or be close to the record, but I mean, it was like, holy smokes. And so anyhow, the crew comes down, and they're all giddy as hell and all this, and they tow me back, right? Because the next thing on every run you make in Comp Eliminator, they weigh the car, and they check fuel, okay? And so, you know, I had race gas in it, but it was legit stuff, right? And all of that, so away we go. Now you got to back it up within 1% if you want the record, 1%.
Oh.
And so what it amounted to is we ran a 62, we had to run a 70, okay?
Wow.
And so now the next run is at 1 o'clock.
Much more.
Air's not nearly as good as it was at 10, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, hey, if it doesn't, it doesn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just all it's to it. And what they do is on a backup run, they ask you which lane do you want, and you can run by yourself.
Oh.
They're not going to put anybody else in the other lane, okay, to screw you up. And this is the second round of qualifying for all the comp cars, right? But now, take your lane, you're going by yourself. So we always tested in the left, so I said, well, we'll go in the left lane. And I knew the track was good because at the burnout, I mean, you could just feel that you know, it had a lot of bite to it because the engine was struggling. It never struggled, but I mean, at $9,000, you know, you know, you could tell, you know, it was tugging away at it. Oh yeah, during all of this, by the way, we were turning this thing 9,800 all the time.
That's
all the time.
Amazing.
And so anyhow, what happened was I staged it up and get your rhythm together and all that other stuff. And I let go of the button and I thought, it was okay. But then I put it in high gear, and I'll tell you what, I thought to myself, this son of a bitch is really running hard in high gear, right? And by the way, with a car like that, the one thing that you realize right away is you don't do much driving down there. You guide it. Because anything fast turning, I mean, it's so short and they're so responsive, right? But the car was making a nice straight run, you know, a lot of times, you know, it's just a little bit on the edge of the, you know, not the track, but where the grip is, okay? Sure. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going right down there. And so anyhow, go through, and the thing runs a 68. And it was like, whoa, where's the beer?
You got it.
Really, that's what goes through your mind. So anyhow, the next thing that happens is the NHRA guys, they impound it right away, right? Oh. And, you know, after we scaled it, and by the way, we always ran the car really, really close on weight, like within 5 pounds, okay? And anyhow, weighed good. They checked the fuel. Fuel was good. And anyhow, then they got it impounded, and they said, we're going to pump it. Okay. Well, pumping it is, they look at you, and they look at the car, and they say, cylinder so-and-so. And it's always the hardest son of a bitch to get at, right? I mean,
why they chose it.
Yeah, that's exactly, you know. And so in this case, it was like, pull number 8. Oh, okay. So what you do is you go there, take the spark plug out, take the valve cover off, take the rocker arm off, okay? And then they got this tube, put in the spark plug hole, and they got this big glass tube with a piston in it. And so then what you do is you crank it over, and that cylinder can't open the intake or exhaust, so it's literally what the piston is pumping, right? So and then it stops kind of at a place where it's steady, and then they read it, multiply it times 8, and they also have a temperature probe that they put in the cylinder afterwards to get the temperature so they know the density of the air, right? And I'll never forget, we never did get along good with this guy. And he said, it's big. I said, it ain't big. And he said, oh yeah, the motor's big. You know, and they knew we just went really, really fast, right? Yeah. And I said, no, that isn't it. I said, do another cylinder. No, we're not going to do another cylinder. The goddamn thing is big. And he's going on and all this other shit. So I said, okay. I looked at the crew and I said, go to the trailer and get the fucking wrenches. Because we're pulling ahead, right? We're pulling that head right here, right now.
Physically measure it.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. If we got to take both of them off, we'll take them both off. You can measure all 8 of them, right? If you're capable of it, right? Give them one of them dudes. Yeah, and so, yeah, he looks at us. He goes,
did you pull ahead?
No, he said, it's okay. After we went through that, it's okay. Yeah, it'll be okay. Okay, good enough, right? So that was it. But I'll tell you what, I think it was a deal. I'm getting into the Oldsmobile GM story now. I think that, first off, I'll get into that later, but the car looked good. I mean, a guy from Flint painted it. It was all candy and all this other stuff. And I mean, it looked really, really good. And it was extremely clean and frankly, well engineered. And I think they really had a pimple on their ass over the fact that this is a GM engineer and he's coming out here. Who is this guy, right? And he's doing this to us? We can't let this happen. I mean, that just can't be, I mean, and that was exactly the attitude. I can't tell you how many races we went to with that car afterwards. They got to the point that when they checked fuel, they wouldn't take it out of the fuel tank anymore. They took it out of the carburetor. They were convinced we had some juice some other place, right? Oh yeah. Okay. Take the float bowl off of the carburetor. We're taking the fuel out of there. So how come? Oh yeah. And then they're doing the density and all that other stuff, and yeah, so that was the way it was.
So they knew that you were cheating somehow, but they couldn't figure it out.
And I gotta be honest with you, we just weren't. Okay,
Yeah.
The closest we came. Well, let me say this first. When I claimed the engine a 362, and it's actually 361, and that's what I told him. I said, "Hey, it's a 361. That's what it is, right?" And, while we were going through the whole deal, and so I claimed it 1 inch bigger than it was. It's okay. You're on the safe side, right? Just in case something happened. And as close as we ever came to being on the edge, I would tell you, in an open cockpit car, you had to have a 5-layer suit, boots, arm restraints, neck, collar thing, okay, at the time.
Yeah.
And every time after a run, I'd take the stuff off, and you have to sit in the car then when they weigh it, but have the helmet and all that other stuff right there with you. But we always carried those little old things down at the bottom there.
Yeah.
We always had one of those that the crew put in the helmet when I put it back in the car, just in case. Yeah, it was just 2.5 pounds, but just in case, right? And I'll never forget when my son was a little tiny guy. We're going through tech. It was actually at Columbus at Spring Nationals that we won, and I'll never forget. We're going through tech and that, and Kevin, my son, says to me, he says, "Is the fuel okay, Dad?" yeah, it's okay, Kevin. And he said, "We have it in their helmet." And I'm thinking, holy gee, and of course you're waiting in line, because everybody's lined up there to do the same thing, qualified and what have you. And but that's as close as we ever came. It was truly legit. I mean, the car, there was nothing else. Now, as we went on, what happened, that car, we ended up, well, there's another very interesting story that goes with that. We were running really good, and we were going down to the U.S. Nationals, always Labor Day weekend. And they run a 64 car field down there in comp, qualified field, and typically they're getting 180. I mean, they're coming from all over the country, right? And anyhow, going into Indy, we had run there once before, and we went down to, it was 8 cars, and I got beat. But this year later, we were absolutely convinced, hey, we got to go down there, let's be loaded for bear. So I built another engine, a little bit bigger bore, with a diesel block.
Stout block.
Good bores, real good bores, okay? I mean, they were thicker in the casting and all that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so did a diesel block. Oldsmobile did me a good job. They cast it with the smaller bearing size for a 350 crank, because a diesel had a 455 main bearing in it, okay?
Oh.
So,
okay.
And it had back and put 4 ball caps on it and all that stuff. And anyhow, it's 367 inches, had some even better cylinder heads. And I was going down to the dyno before Indy. It's probably 2 weeks before, and I'm running this engine. And I'm here to tell you, man, I beat the hell out of that thing. And it just, it just wasn't any better. That's just all there was to it, man. I'm trying everything. I'm trying different cams. By now we got cams coming from all different people. I mean, I had some Lenati's in it. I had Kip's cam in it and that stuff at the time, and it just wasn't any better. And literally, I'm going to work at 7 in the morning, getting out of work at 5, run down to Detroit on the dyno, beat the hell out of the thing until 10 o'clock, come home, do it again, right?
Who's dyno? Maskin?
Yeah, it was Total Engineering is what they called themselves at the time. It was Dick Maskin and Andy Manarino.
Gotcha. Okay.
Maskin ended up, he owned Dart. He was the guy who Dart heads and all that stuff, right? But not at the time. They were just running a shop. And they had a Superflow. And I got hooked up with them because they knew I was running really good, and they had a Pro Stock 1980 Trans Am Pontiac, and we put 403s in those in production.
Yes, we did.
Oldsmobiles. And so they could run an Olds motor in Pro Stock in that car. So they wanted to run the Olds, right?
Okay.
So, I came down there. They said, hey, why don't you come down? We'd like to hear about the Olds. So that's how the friendship started and all that. So anyhow, with that being the case, I'm beating the hell out of this 367. And it's literally, we had to go to Indy. We had to be down there on Wednesday. And it was Tuesday afternoon. And I made a change to the intake manifold. And as soon as I ran the thing, it was just, I could tell it sounded different, right? And I'll tell you, all of a sudden, the damn thing, it was up like about 12 horsepower, okay, from what we had.
Wow.
And I go, oh shit, this is it, right? So I call back. You remember Craig Berlin? He was going racing with me, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember calling Craig, and I said, Craig, hey, the thing's good on the dyno. I said, what do you think? It's Tuesday, right? And we got to be down at Indy the next morning, right? And he says, well, bring it home. And he said, we got to put it in the car. We can't just take it down there, right? And put it in that. Because my thought was, hey, we're going to get 4 qualifying shots. Why don't we run what we got? We'll put this thing in, okay? And if it's better, it's better. It's not, we'll put the other one back in, right? I mean, because we were changing motors all the time. Trailer, had the ability to change all the shit and all that. So anyhow, on the way home, I think to myself, man, I really got to put it in the car. So I called Jim, who owns a track up at Central Michigan, Jim Letford. I said, Jim, what would you think if we made a couple passes up there? And this had to be about this is probably about 7 o'clock. What time are you going to be here? I said, it probably won't be before 1 o'clock. I could tell there was telephone silence, right? And he says, yeah, when you leave Lansing, he said, let me know. And he was a real good guy. We did a ton of testing. I can't tell you how much testing we did. And so anyhow, I call Craig right away, pull the engine out of the car, the 360 put the 367 in it, up the stand we go. And we got there, it was about 12:30 or so.
I was going to say, that's an hour drive.
Yeah, we were hustling. And by the way, we had to take all our stuff because we're going to go to Indy right after this, right? So we, had to have the bags packed and all that stuff, put Barb in charge of that.
Oh.
And, so anyhow, we get up there. It is about 12:30, I'd say. Jim's got all the lights on at the track.
Wow.
And he glued the lane. He put down the traction compound, right?
Oh, amazing.
And honest to God, we unload the car, we warm it up, and it sounded good. All the Oldsmobiles sounded good because we ran very little ring tension and all that other stuff, right? And they sounded really good. And so anyhow, go up there, and first thing that happens when I get in the car, I realize the damn car is wet, right? I mean, there's so much dew. Okay, I'm thinking, this is going to be a really lousy ride, I mean, this could be bad, right? And, but of course, okay, that, the hell with that. We got to see what we're going to do here.
Sure.
And so anyhow, do the burnout, make the pass, and the thing goes at 58, quickest we ever went, because we set the record at 62.
Yeah.
And,
wow.
And so anyhow, I come back, and Craig, he's a big old good-looking guy and all that other stuff, right? And he says, I'm the guy who's driving, right? But he's the one that says, we ought to make sure that's a good number. Do it again. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you get in the son of a bitch, right?
It's not your ass in the car.
Yeah, you got great ideas while you're standing here. And so anyhow, make another pass, and it was really close to the same. Can't remember exactly what. Put it in the truck. And away we go to Indy. The beer is out, and we're good, right? We're good. And we get down to Indy and all that. And long story short was, I think we qualified it I think we were 13th out of 64. But there's a bunch in the pits. It had to be 100.
You said it was a 30 or 64
car field.
But there was 100 and some cars.
Yeah, there was well over 100.
And, and you were 13th qualifier?
And we're 13th, yep. And we went down to 4 cars. Let me tell you, the one thing about Indianapolis, there ain't an easy round in the bunch. I mean, everybody's there, because they're good, right? Yeah. I mean, this is the deal. Indianapolis, U.S. Nationals, this is the deal. Went down to 4 cars, and I had to race a guy that had it was a Plymouth Aero, I think, and he was running like sea gas, a 2.4 barrel, 340 type motor deal in it and that sort of thing. And like I said, they're all fast. And I never let that bother me. Whoever's over there is over there. I'm just, we got to run our race here. That's just all it's. There's some guys that would mess around, okay, but anyhow, staged it up and let go of the button, and the thing went red. Oh. Went red by 4 10,000ths early. Oh. And it was like, oh shit. Right? But I drove it through. Right. I mean, at that point, you're so pumped because the car moves so hard. You can just barely see the red out of the corner of your eye. Okay. When you go by the tree. And, so I go down there, okay, get the chute out and everything, get it turned around. And I'm waiting there for the girls and Craig to come, right? I'm waiting and waiting, just tow me back, right? And, God, they're not there. And I'm wondering what the hell happened, Seemed like forever. And then finally I see, because we had a company station wagon we used, because we brought the car in a hauler, okay? At that time I had an enclosed box hauler, okay? An Olenek box truck. But then we had the company car, okay, that we'd tow it, from the finish line, the pits and all that stuff. And I could tell as soon as I looked at it, them coming up, both the women didn't look happy, right? And Berlin can have a temper, right? So he gets out of the car. He comes walking toward me, and I don't know what possessed me to do this, but I said to Craig, how quick was it? His exact words were, what the fuck does it matter? And I'm sure the women had this all the way down, right? Had the whole, driving with him and all that. I'm sure there was pounding on this, that, whatever. So anyhow, we towed it back, put it in the hauler, never said a word, just drank beer until Fort Wayne. And then we all kind of came to the conclusion that, hey, everything, we did okay, right? Yeah. But we didn't win it. So that gets into the next story then. Mm-hmm. So I sell that. Yeah. And a guy down in Fort Wayne wanted it real bad. He basically couldn't hit his ass with 2 hands, okay, in comp. And this thing was fast, and he bought it with both motors. And I have to be honest, at the time, I was making good money at Olsen Engineering, but not a lot of money, and he was willing to give me a lot of money for the car, right? And it was just, here it is, man. Here's how it runs and everything, Mm-hmm. His name was Warren Pierce. And anyhow, he raced it for a couple of years after that. And I swore up and down that, man, just work on the thing and you're gonna break my record, no problem here, okay? Because I know it'll go at 58, and which is quicker than we went, but never did. He never did. And he sold it to another guy. I don't know why, but somebody on the East Coast, and they tumbled it. Oh, no. And soft plug came out of the cylinder head. Oh. And watered down the tires. Yeah. But he came out. He walked away from it. A lot of credit to Wayne Farr. That was the bottom line. So that was the end of that car. Mm-hmm. And so then what happened is during this whole time is Oldsmobile, well, I don't know. Did you ever see the Roadster that we were talking about? That was on the Oldsmobile race calendar that one year? Yeah. The December car or whatever? Yeah. I mean, a non-Oldsmobile, but, had an Olds motor in it, right? Here you got an old Roadster and that. Yep. So anyhow, that turned into this right here. Don Hardy was down in Florida, Texas, and he's building these all-tube cars. And the new Calais was just coming out.
Okay.
And anyhow, long story short is I had him build this car down in Florida. And the deal was run A-gas. And I was obsessed with doing this because A-gas was basically like a Pro Stock car, okay? But you ran a comp eliminator. And anyhow, I built a batten-headed Olds for that, but I could run 2 4-barrels.
Oh.
2 4500s, big.
Wow.
Fabricated sheet metal manifolds, like the ones like that one up there.
There, yeah.
Yep.
Oh. Okay.
For an Olds.
Mhm.
And I was absolutely obsessed with, it was 380, I think 4 inches, but I wanted to be a 4 1/4 bore, okay? Because the biggest we were running was 4 1/8. And so what happened is Oldsmobile cast me some diesel blocks with 403 cores, water cores, because they had no coolant between the bores, the 403.
Was a Siamese board?
Siamese. Yeah, Siamese bore, because they were 4351, I think, something like that. So I could run 4 1/4.
Okay.
So that thing on the dyno with the 2 4-barrels, God, I think it was 382 inches, something like that. It made 937.
Holy man.
Oh, it was a bad cat.
Whoa,
That was a serious.
geez.
That was a serious bad cat.
No,
And
no,
and
you
and it
probably
had.
turned it hard though, right?
Oh yeah, same deal. I mean, in bad air. In fact, when I get to these here in bad air, we were turning those 10.5.
Wow.
But anyhow, and it had a Lincoln transmission in it, just like Pro Stock car with the levers. Yeah. So anyhow, what happened with that is we ran really good for a couple years, and I mean that thing ran a lot of speed. We were running over 200 mile an hour.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
in a quarter mile with that, and anyhow, then I cracked 2 blocks in a row. This was the biggest mistake I've ever made in racing. I cracked 2 blocks, and I said to hell with it. I just can't. This is crazy.
How did it block?
Split the bore on
Between-
the outside of it. And what happened is when they made these special blocks for me, it's hard to fault them but they were having trouble getting the water core centered up in
This
the core blocks.
split the bore into the water jacket?
Yes, on the outboard side.
On the thrust side.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's up.
Yeah. It was. We were splitting this one all the time right here, right on the outboard side.
Oh.
And 2 blocks in a row. And let me tell you what, I probably in every one of those blocks put at least 20 hours of grinding in it. Deburring them and getting it so all the oil goes where it's supposed to go and all that other stuff. And I said to hell with it. And that was easy to say doing that because John Callies from Pontiac had called and he said, hey, why don't you run a Pontiac? And so that turned into this project, this Fiero, the 4-cylinder Pontiac.
I'll be darned.
Oh, that was. This turns into an even more interesting story. To be honest. So, what happened is, 4-cylinder engine, by the way, an Iron Duke, okay, and what I did is I built 2 of them, 188 inches, 144 inches, half of a 288 Chevy, basically, and he had some good heads. Pontiac did because there's sporty car racing and all that other stuff, and so anyhow, put the engine in the car at a 45-degree angle. Had a half of a fabricated manifold like that, so the carburetors were straight up and down.
Okay.
Started out with 2 4-barrels on it, but then Maskin and Manarino, they had run Dominators that they cut in half. So they had 4 2-barrels on their Pro Stock motors to get them lined up over the runners better, okay?
Oh.
They were outlawed. Oh, okay, I'll run them. 2 of them, right? Yeah, so I put them on the manifold. So I had 2 giant 2-barrels, right?
Wow.
And I mean, it was good. That little 144 made, I'm trying to remember. I don't want to lie to you here. It was just about 400 horsepower.
Man, oh
It
man.
would shake itself apart. Let me tell you how bad it shook. Is the floats on the carburetors, you couldn't keep them in regulation.
Oh,
I mean, it shook even at a 45-degree angle, and these are this way, and pistons are going this way. But all four cylinders have a lot of vertical shake force, right?
sure.
As we knew from quad fours and all that. What I did on the carburetors is where you have the sight bronze screw
Right,
for the float level,
right.
okay?
Yep.
You know, and then you'd adjust the float, okay, on
Yeah.
top, and you'd look, as you know, as the fuel level right in the float bowl. I went and literally put hoses instead of those plugs there and put a line back to the fuel cell, because when it went out of regulation, if it was starting to go too high, it just spilled off through the hose.
Oh, I
Right,
see.
so it always stayed at that float level, right? And then it ran good, it ran real good. So our game plan was all very simple. With, oh, by the way, the body, they put that in the wind tunnel at GM.
Oh,
Yeah, that becomes an important part of the story, because yeah, they had it there, and the chassis was built by S&W Race Cars out in Philadelphia. And so the game plan was very simple, and that was, there's only one reason for this car. I'm going down to Indy and I'm going to win that son of a bitch, right? Period. End of discussion. Okay. And so we worked and worked and worked on the damn thing. And let me tell you what, 4 cylinders are just not fun. I mean, everything's rattling off the car.
yeah. But,
It's the truth. And it had a Liberty 5-speed, which is a dog clutch type manual transmission in it, right? So anyhow, and it ran good. So anyhow, the week before the U.S. Nationals, we're up at Stanton testing like everybody else is.
Mhm.
And we knew we were in pretty good shape. I mean, the car was fast. It ran, I think it was H altered. Yeah. Something like that. And H or G or H, something like that. But anyhow, it was really, really good against the record. And so we're up there testing. And what happens, once again, didn't use my head. It was the weekend before Indy. And there's a whole bunch of cars from all over the country testing up at Stanton. Okay, getting ready for Indy. And so anyhow, we made a run that was very good. I mean, not outstanding, but very, very good. I mean, we were going to have to be dealt with at Indy, okay? We were that good. And there's a guy from the West Coast, never forget him, Darren Davis, running the same class
oh,
with, you could run a 4 or a 6. He had a line 6, okay, in his car. West Coast. His dad made headers for a living, Davis Headers,
oh,
out in California. And here was the key. He was best friends with the NHRA. That's headquarters out there. So next thing that happens, we load up the car, go down there, and we're happy as hell. We're coming to Indy. Can't get through tech. They say to me, the first thing that happened, in fact, you can see the van right there.
Yep.
That was the last installment of our conflict. Okay. And what happened is they say to me, the tech guys. And by the way, a little bit of this goes all the way back to the beginning, right? And I mean, motor's big, same clowns, right? And plus the California gang from headquarters.
Ed's back with a new car. Well, we'll see what's wrong with this one. One
Trust
of
me.
those deals?
Well, and they had Darren Davis obviously call him and say, hey, he's loaded for bear. He went fast up at Stanton, right? So what comes out of all of that is they say, well, the car doesn't have a taillight on it. Huh? And if you're running at night, you got to have a taillight that's on a drag car. They just do that so you can see you down at the other end, right?
Okay.
No stoplight or anything. I said, shit, we don't run at night down here. Right? There aren't even any lights on the track.
Yeah.
Okay, so what the hell's it? Oh, it doesn't have a taillight. Oh, okay. So we spend a day putting a taillight on it. Next thing that happens is they come back, or we go down there again, says, well, the drive shaft safety hoop isn't stout enough. Huh? So anyhow, and I mean, this is a really nice chrome moly, well-built car, right? Way ahead of its time. It's a 4-link car with struts on the front and all that, and the body. And so anyhow, we get the welder down there at the racetrack, and we weld in a new hoop and all that other stuff. And so then, what was the next installment? Oh, I know. By this time, it's Saturday, and the last qualifying shot okay, is at like 1 in the afternoon. Okay, and we didn't get any runs in yet. We didn't get our tech card, right? So I remember Buddy Ingersoll, who was running the Buick, Turbo Buick, kind of a corporate deal in that, he came over to me and Buddy said, you know what, about an hour before the last qualifying pass, you warm that thing up. And he said, what they're going to do is they're going to come over and they're going to find out just how bad you are. They're going to give you one shot to get in here, right? And I thought, okay, that sounds pretty profound, so we'll be ready, right? So we did exactly that. Over comes the van with all the tech guys, right? And I mean, we're ready to go. Yeah. I mean, that's just all it's to it. And they're looking at it and all this shit, and they're kind of going round and around, and he said, it's not legal because there's no Fiero convertibles. I said, no. You better read your rule book. I mean, if you guys are going to do what you're going to do, you really ought to be knowledgeable about your goddamn rules, right? And I said, no, American Sunroof makes convertibles out of Fieros. And it's right in Brighton, Michigan. And you can buy it through the dealership. He said, well, that's not manufactured by GM. I said, that's why you read the rule book, because it doesn't say OEM manufactured, okay? Oh. And so we have, right? By this time, there's hundreds of people around. You couldn't make it, because everybody's talking about they won't let them run, right? And the car was beautiful, trust me. It was smooth and beautiful. Dan Webb from Flint painted that one also. So the next thing that happens is the tech guy looks at me and he says, well, it's streamlining. I said, what the hell does streamlining mean here? Where's that in the rule book, right? He said, well, it's streamlining. You can't do that. I said, wait a minute, take a look at the car. You can't see that that's a really nicely fitting tonneau cover and everything because it's molded in perfect. So at this time, the crowd is going crazy, right? And you couldn't make this shit up. And finally, he just looked at me and he said, you ain't running. That's it. That was it. Put it in the trailer, come home, done. The end.
4 or 5 hours down there and all that screwing around and all
It's days. This was days. Because it started on Thursday, actually Wednesday, and went through Saturday morning. And then there was all sorts of articles everywhere about it, right? Coolest car at Indy, never runs. So then we got into this.
That's amazing. So whatever happened to the car?
Sold it to a guy down in Lapeer. We took the body off. This is the same car with a Roadster body on it.
Oh. Okay.
And frankly, that body was probably worth almost a tenth. I would have never guessed it. The Aero, you know, because I mean, in that class, it wasn't. I think we ran about a 152 or something like that, 153. So it wasn't super fast, right? I mean, speed-wise, you wouldn't think the Aero was that important. But anyhow, then a guy down Lapeer bought the car. And he put a small block Ford in it, bracket raced it, I think. Oh. And then some guys from the East Coast came. That was an interesting story. They wanted my 4-cylinder Pontiacs. And these guys came. They called from the East Coast and said, hey, we'd like to buy them. I said, well, you know, here's what I'd like for them and all that other stuff, right? And it wasn't a crazy price or anything. Okay, we'll be there tomorrow morning. Oh, okay. And so away they come. And I'll never forget. This guy, 2 guys, they come out of the, they had a pickup truck, and they got a shopping bag, a paper shopping bag.
Oh.
He said, here's the money. And it was 5s and 10s and 20s. It took
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, and it was full. And none of it's lined up or any of that other stuff. It's just full of it.
Oh my God.
And it was like 25 grand or something like that, right? I mean, it wasn't a ton of money.
Crap.
And so
take you half a day to count it.
Yeah, I gave it to Barb. I said, Barb,
you got an assignment.
yeah. And, you know, I mean, you know, it didn't even smell right. You know, if you get my drift on this. I mean, and these boys, so away they went. They're happy as hell. So then we had Gary built this car.
I was going to ask if
he built the Altered, and those had small blocks in them. In fact, the engine's right over there with Buick aftermarket heads. Those were dart heads.
Oh,
I'll show you. In fact, these cats were. I mean, the Oldsmobiles were really good, but you got to remember now. This is about 15 years later. This is the one that's in that photograph right there. This
Oh.
is a 304-inch Chevy small block with Buick heads, replicated port.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And only a 10-degree chamber. And this engine right here is, I always ran 4055 bore by 2950 stroke. And in bad air, we would turn that all the time, well over 10.
Wow.
It's just what you did, right? With a single 4-barrel on it. Could only run a single 4.
Wow.
And this right here, the last pull we made on that down at Maskins, by now he's in Royal Oak, OwnStart, it made 732 out of 304 inches.
Holy moly.
This one was another one that we ran, and this one's actually a 307, and smaller bore, longer stroke. I was convinced running with these automatic transmissions that if the thing had more balls when you put it in high gear at the bottom of the gear change, that it was going to be good. Never worked. It was a nice try, but it didn't work. So anyhow, by this time, the thing that happened with all of this going on is, especially when we set the record the first time, and then with the street roads we set it again in a different class, and then with the altered we set the record, and all of a sudden we're getting parts from everybody. They want their parts on our car, right? And so, you know, we were getting cams from 3 different camshaft companies. Danny Jussel's giving me anything I wanted. This right here is a good example of all the suspension stuff.
Oh, wow.
This is Strange Engineering out of Chicago. Was the rear axles and brakes and all the suspension stuff. And you know, they literally gave us whatever we wanted. And
That's a pretty car.
and if you look at the brakes, the reason I uncovered it, that's the Strange stuff on it. And I don't think this has. Yeah, it's got the 2 calipers, and those are carbon fibers on the back. The one thing that happens with free parts that you start to figure out pretty quick on this is, you know, well, first off, they just wanted the parts in the car because the stuff is getting a lot of attention, you know, in the pits and in magazines and all that other stuff.
Sure.
And but a lot of the stuff, you know, you're getting stuff that nobody else has, in so much that you're getting experimental parts.
Yeah.
And an interesting thing with Strange Engineering, because I love Robert. Robert's not with us anymore, he passed. But he was always at Indy. And they're right in downtown Chicago, making rear axles and axle shafts and all that other stuff. And like our cars, we always had rear axles that were gun drilled. Okay, down the middle, real light and all that other stuff. And I remember old Robert one time coming up to me, swilling down a Chevis. Okay, always had a gallon close at hand.
Jeez.
That's just the way it was. He's swilling one down with his latest girlfriend, right? And he says, you know what? Let's put some titanium axles in that. And I said, Robert, I said, you know, if I break an axle in one of these things, it's going to be a really, really shitty ride.
But it's you driving, not me.
Yeah, it'll be okay. So honest to God, he makes, for the altered, he makes a set of titanium axle shafts, gun drills. Yeah, we might as well do that too. We made 3 runs with that thing, right? And who the hell is Dan Manderdack was going with me at the time.
Oh, no kidding.
And I said, we better take a look at the axles, right? So we pull an axle out, and honest to God, it was twisted at least 45 degrees, right?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
It gets shorter, right?
So I call Robert. I said, Robert, this axle twisted. I said, you know, it's about 45 degrees. He says, oh, yeah. Put it in the other side. At that point, I realized, no, we ain't doing this no more.
Well, if I remember right, because because your next door neighbor at the shop has told me about that car and all the light shit you had on it. If I remember, Gary saying, was that an 1,100-pound car with you in it or something?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
Something ridiculous. You must.
It was with a 304 is a 5-pound class, so we ran it at 1520. 1520, but I'll guarantee that's with me in it. And at the time, I was probably 200, right? So the car was really, really. Wow. There's no question about it.
That's amazing.
No question about it. And I'll tell you, the thing that was made. Well, you can see here. That's the end of the run, but you can see how the tires really stood up on it.
Yeah.
And that was a real trick on these cars, is to get when you left the line, the quicker you could get the car up on the tire, okay, the faster you were going to go, because you could not afford all the losses from driving the tires into the ground so hard, okay, that it's absorbing a lot of power that way.
Oh.
This thing, when you would look at the computer, okay, after a run and that sort of thing, that car right there, you could see where it was spinning the tires at the finish line.
No kidding.
Not hard,
but
you could do one of them. And in the car, it felt just like that too. I mean, It was like, you get about half track and that thing is, I mean, it was pulling really hard, right? And you just kind of think to yourself, well, okay, let's hold on here and push on the pedal as hard as we can, right?
Yeah.
That's just the way it was. Yeah, so anyhow, kind of the last part of the story, this car, now I'm retiring, okay? This is back in 2009. And F.J. Smith, who's up in Canada, Cayuga, Ontario.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, he builds stockers and super stockers.
Okay.
And this is a legal stocker, okay? And so he calls me up. And by the way, he borrowed my engines a couple times, the Oldsmobiles, to run them and that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
You know, when I wasn't running the 360, yeah, run it. Because he had a Oldsmobile stock, super stocker at the time. He was running in modified production. That's what it was. But anyhow, so he calls up, he says, hey, I got a body in white up here from GM.
Okay.
What do you think about building a stocker up for you, right? Because he had built several of these. And I said, I don't know, FJ. And anyhow, that ended up with a conversation being, you know what, we can make a really nice car out of it. Okay, let's go and build it. And I had another friend at the time, Arlen Fadley, he's in one of these pictures, because I thought about, if we go over to the shop, we built a brand new Roadster, Gary did, for that class over there.
Oh, okay.
And, but I had a friend here after I retired, it's probably about 5 years ago. I said, I'm thinking about getting the car out, making a couple runs. And his input was, and I respect this, he said, you know what, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. And that was, forget about that. Go gentleman racing on this, right? Because this right here is about a 10-second deal. And
plenty quick.
Yeah, it's a nice ride. I'll show you. It's built with a crate motor in it.
Oh.
Yeah, it can be modified and all that. And there's very specific rules, but that's why it's called E-crate motor, means so many pounds, okay, for that engine. And so this is
very nice.
A 350 aluminum head GM crate motor.
Wow. Okay.
I think they advertise them at 350 horsepower, something like that.
Okay.
Maybe 370. And anyhow, the rules are can't port the heads, got to be steel valves, any rocker arms you want, production configuration pistons on the dome, steel rods, and then one 750 carburetor with any intake you want.
Oh, okay.
And so anyhow, this went on the dyno. Actually, dyno this one down at Lingenfelter's in Indiana. And this one made 575.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Wasn't bad.
Good.
And by the way, it was like 7,200 RPM, something like that.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, that's kind of this deal, and
It's beautiful.
The way it worked, by the way, what I do on the cars, I'm saying this because I'm a little bit proud of it. Basically, FJ, if you look at it, he does the whole cage and everything. By the way, it's just clean underneath too. I mean, because it was a body and white car, and so he does all the chassis fabrication, and then in Buffalo, New York, Scott Jaron, who painted a number of FJ cars, painted it. They give you a rendering.
Yeah.
What do you want it to look like, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
And then they paint it. And then when it comes here, I do all the engine wiring and assembly and all that stuff. And, you know, it's, like I said, it's kind of gentleman stuff at that point. And, I'll show you back here. Doing this because FJ does a nice job, is what it amounts to. So it's got the regular suspension in the back,
Okay.
which is the real long arm from the center of the pinion.
Oh, okay.
And instead of attaching it to the rear of the transmission, he's got a cross member in the car. And then it's got a number of holes, so you can go and change, okay, the roll center of it.
Okay.
And then it's got lowers that are adjustable, kind of, and that's all it's to it, right? And then on the front, it's got, he redoes it with the normal type struts, but racing ones, okay, that are, you know, valved properly and all that. So that's,
Nice sanitary car.
yeah, so that's kind of the deal on this.
Very good.
So,
Cool.
last thing I was going to do here, and I don't want this to feel self-serving, but this was, because we talked a lot, it's got a lot more information. This was, can't find it, right there. It's got a better picture of that car.
Oh, there it is, yeah.
Yeah. See, I was young at one time. And this is over at my shop. If we go over there, these cars are there. And yeah, so anyhow, a guy named Dave McGuire, because at this point, what happened is he was a writer, and you can have that. He was a writer for Hot Rod, and had just done the LS engines, you know, as chief engineer of those, okay? And
Right.
and so anyhow, he says, hey, I'd really like to come and you know, look at your stuff. And they were doing this thing with inside the OEs, you know, different executives or people or whatever. And I said, so one Friday, I said, okay, let's run up there. So up we came.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's neat. I've not seen that.
Yeah,
That was January.
They gave me a whole box of them. I got to be honest with you, I don't hand them out. I'm not quite that into that sort of thing.
That's cool.
Did you want to go to shop?
I'd love to. I'd love to. Yeah.
Well, why don't, let me just close this up right here and take that, and we'll go over to shop.
Sure.
There's no, well, the W41 is over there.